and this is what we're going to talk about today. So what are you going to do? Because otherwise, what are you going to do? Like, oh, I like your Watchmen shirt. Yeah, it's interesting. It's actually about depression. Sometimes I get depressed because God's not talking to me.
I knew exactly where I was going to go with that conversation.
All right.
I
On
did.
this episode, Ty and the Gang will be discussing
You don't. You just
our
like
life's
You
purpose.
sound like NPR.
That's kind of what I was going. I should do. Like, what if we did like some sort of weird
Just
verbal intro
record.
for the bro show, like a promo?
Are you recording, Eric?
Yeah, I'm recording, but you interrupting Evan talking.
That's our intro.
Just don't worry. Just
We're recording.
We're recording. Let's just.
This is a clusterfuck.
Anyway. Go ahead, Evan.
He was mocking you guys about the NPR stuff.
What is this NPR?
National. Wait, I don't remember. It's NPR radio.
Oh,
So it's something radio.
yeah, that's right.
Nah. I don't listen to NPR, but I listen to like the Tiny Desk concerts they have.
Really?
But it's
Okay.
What is it? National Publishing.
I really don't know what NPR stands for.
I don't remember
I
either.
can look it up.
Yeah, sure.
So, earlier you were asking me about my Watchmen.
Your shirt?
My Watchmen
Yeah, it's a great
t-shirt.
shirt. I noticed you wear it a lot.
Yes. Okay. So, anyway, I used to wear it when I was depressed.
Because of the smiley face?
Yeah, it's very ironic. Bleeding on the inside and smiling on the outside.
Oh, that was you put that message onto it though.
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
In
mean,
the movie, I'm pretty sure that's from the spot in the comic where the blood drips onto it.
it is, but it's
Because the
very,
comedian gets killed at the
yeah.
beginning.
He does.
And that's not a spoiler alert. That's literally the first part
Scene.
of the comic.
Yeah. He does get killed, but his whole persona is very ironic.
Yeah, because he's a very dark person.
He is, a very dark, interesting type of person.
Right.
And so it was very definitely interesting watching that. But and just seeing the characters. But anyway, I used to wear the shirt because I was depressed. I grew up in a pretty abusive household, pretty negative type of family, and I got to this point where I was like 14, 15, and I remember always questioning the reason for life and stuff like that, and so it was always a what?
It was just a way for you to.
It doesn't like I'm not depressed anymore, but I still just love the Watchmen comic. Yeah. But anyway, when I was a kid,
did you seek spiritual help?
Well,
like a pastor or someone you could reach out to and kind of be like, hey, like what's going on up there?
Not really.
What am I going on up where? Like in his head, or?
I meant like heaven.
Like, is he watching the local broadcast, like the news from heaven?
I figure if anyone knows, it's the pastor. I don't know if there's a broadcast up in heaven.
Well, so the only time I started like asking about the meaning to life was when I was around 20, 21 to 22. But there was never a definite answer. And there was nothing.
This is just you kind of personally crying out to the universe and not getting anything in return? Or were you like researching or like looking into something?
I wouldn't say that I was researching. I would say that I was asking a lot of pastors and trying to figure out this answer, the meaning to life. And all I got is like there was no clear reason as to why, if you're a Christian, why God created us, or if you're a follower of Christ, why God created us. But anyway, to their from their point of view, there was no like clear reasoning for that. It was God was alone, so
there's got to be one.
Yeah. Well, there does.
What
have
do they
to be
say?
At least one. Well, they say the point for our existence is to bring glory to Yeah. But when you get into that, and when I was a kid, I never really wanted, or didn't know what I wanted to do. And so you got the to bring glory to Christ, and so the second thing was you got to find something that brings
whatever God has called you.
Yeah, whatever God has called you to do. And so at some point, I was just kind of like, well, I haven't heard anything from God, so I don't know what He wants me to do.
I'm not hearing the call.
I'm not hearing the call, and that's very true. And so I got to the point to where I had to make a decision for myself and just be like, I don't really think there is a meaning to life, and life is just what you make it. At
where
some
you're at
point.
now?
Yeah, that's still where I'm at. And so
do you believe the first part though, bring glory to God?
Yeah, but that always means something different to the person that is taking
it. Doesn't just mean worship. When people are saying that, they mean
because
they mean like I've started this orphanage.
Yeah, exactly.
Glory to God. I make music, and that's me.
Sure. Yeah.
Glory. Okay.
Exactly. And so I know that I don't know, like I know I enjoy what I'm doing, and so I would like, obviously this is a stepping stone, for other things that I want to do.
Yeah.
But I'm here, and I never would have gotten here if I was just still sitting on that couch waiting for
a sign or something.
Whatever. Yeah.
I think
sign.
Especially I would say this because I think you're a pretty you're definitely more of a left brain person.
A left brain? I'm left-handed.
First of all, I think your left hand is like right brain, right? Or whatever. Isn't there some weird thing about left brain, right brain? I don't even know what that means. It's weird. But but the left brain thing, I just mean like more analytical and more fact based and things like that.
Yeah.
Then it's probably because I relate to that where I was the same kid who like I didn't get prayer for a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it for a really long time because I when people were like I'm talking to God, I after a while I was like, oh, they must just not mean literally. You're not literally talking to God. But then I talked to some people they're like, no, you're literally communicating with God. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, He's never said anything. Yes. I have not heard a damn thing.
Yes.
Now, what I understand that means more now. Mm. Now, I don't think every Christian would attest to this, but objectively, outwardly, I noticed that prayer is sort of just like meditation. Mm. And when you're looking for answers through that meditation, you can, in a way, get an answer from God.
Yeah.
But it's really just sort of your subconscious coming to surface.
Yeah.
That's what I wonder sometimes. When people say, like, I'm called to ministry or something.
Right.
That might have been something where it's like they have been thinking about this topic or thinking about this thing and feeling about it, and then it's like tugging at them, and so subconsciously they know this is what they want to do, but they've got all the questions and the logistics of it, and they don't know if it's possible. And then I think, so this is me, obviously, like I don't necessarily believe in the same God of the Bible or like in the same way that maybe a typical Christian would.
Right.
But I can understand that idea of like a call from God being like, this is the thing that is within me that I feel like I need to accomplish, and this is my goal, and this is kind of the thing I need to kind of have a victory over. And so that subconscious like bubbling to the surface is like almost like a call from God.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and I could keep going, but
I was gonna say when you asked me before I moved. I can't remember if you asked or if you were like, you should move down or up here, whatever. There's this thought that came into my head, and it was very like, if you keep, had to do with being fearful of things not going the way I plan. I will never move up there. That's what the thought was.
Yeah.
And so, and that's when, like, after that thought came, that's when I was like, yeah, I'll just do it.
Right.
Yeah. are we going to say?
I'm just going to say we need to distinguish here the difference between meaning and your calling or your purpose. Because meaning can be any type of broad substance. It can be universal or it can be individual.
Right.
Especially within a religious context.
Right.
Now, your purpose or your calling, that could be any infinite number of things, because we have such a, as a church would put it, you have the body of Christ, or you have a diverse group of people collectively within, just planet Earth. So, meaning could potentially be a universal thing, but nobody. For me personally, nobody's come by with a satisfactory answer for what the meaning of life is.
Right. When I say that, I do mean basically, why are we here? Stuff like that. And that's what I mean by meaning to life. So as a general overall, like earthly, universal scale or whatever. But I'm not saying that life does not have value, right? Life does have value. My thing is why are we here? And I think that answer is different for everybody.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, like when you get into like your purpose or your calling, there are a lot of people that say, well, it's just coincidental. It's the environment you're raised in, or it's what you're exposed to.
Right.
But what I see that kind of almost kind of fights that at times is you have this person that they come into the world, they have this extreme talent to do one thing, just extremely well. And they revolutionize the industry. It's like, this is, it's hard to argue they were not meant to do this, Now, maybe they could have taken a different path, but something drove them to continue going down this path their entire lifetime. And they've made all these discoveries, and they furthered this science or this art form, to the point where it made a leap, 50 to 100 years. It opened up a whole new avenue for these, for everyone behind them to continue. I think, I know there's I don't remember what the evolution argument is for that. But I know there's a lot of arguments within Christianity. It was like, oh, this person was created to do this.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people get caught up in that because they're like, well, this one person did this. So what's my profound message that I'm going to give the world?
So are you implying that a lot of Christians are wanting to do something like really big and they get disappointed when maybe that's not their purpose?
I think that's really common. I think it's with new Christians, especially, and with our generation.
Right.
You have a lot of factors, including things like social media and how we're always in contact, with the internet. We see this person made this really simple statement online and got millions of views. Like, well, why can't I do that when I put my material out?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's not necessarily that
relatable.
A little bit.
Perhaps the purpose you have is the same, but you're not going to be the guy that reaches 500 million people.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to be the person that reaches a few thousand in your local area.
But maybe those 1,000 wouldn't have been reached otherwise.
That's true. Maybe
maybe there's a particular reason.
Yeah.
On a more personal scale.
On a more personal scale.
Well, because I think there is something wrong sometimes with the idea that you have to go big or go home. Well, maybe that's not the right phrase, because I do think you should try to do the best you can.
Absolutely.
But, well, it's interesting because you were talking about, like, in Christianity, like, if the God of the if the God of the universe created you, then and created you with purpose, as most Christians would say, I think the argument that I've heard now, I don't know, because most people, most Christians or Bible believers can kind of point to some of the same things, whereas atheists have all kinds of different philosophies. But one I remember Christopher Hitchens saying is like, you don't. Like, why are you so self-important to think that in the grand scheme of things you have some kind of, you're significant in some way?
Yeah.
Like, which obviously seems cynical and like really negative, but there's probably a balance between the two, which is like, God created me specifically and knows my name so that I can do this great purpose and task. And it's like, well, you're also one of 300 million on a little rock in an infinite galaxy.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, how really significant are you?
Right.
But I also don't know that it gets you anywhere to do that. To be like, well, I'm just a speck on a speck floating through space. So I guess I shouldn't try, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it was the, I wouldn't say it's negative, but I guess other people would. The negative outlook, the Christopher Hitchens is, you're not important. Kind of outlook. That
the arrogance of it is what he would say. He's like, there's a lot of, like, the audacity to say that the God of the universe created you, and you specifically were created in an infinite universe. You were the specific one that God chose and created. And he was like, the audacity of it, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I don't know. For me, it was better to go ahead and go with the idea that there isn't a meaning to life.
Make your own meaning.
Exactly.
It's kind of your point, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because when we get these pastors that are like, you know, the point of life is to give glory to God. Like I said, you know, especially being someone like me, at some point I got really sick and tired of everyone saying that and not giving a definite answer. Because at the end of the day, I would feel like there should be one, especially with Christianity. But if you're giving so many different answers, I think it's better to accept that there isn't, because everybody does something different. Now, whenever I looked at this question, I always go back to Genesis, and I look at the way that we were created, and then the commands that we were given. What's that? Go forth and multiply, and then dominate the earth. And I wouldn't say that that's your puzzle. What's the look?
Did you interject your own a little bit of your own dialogue into that?
We have dominion over the earth.
Oh,
yeah.
So
I thought it just said go make babies and farm.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But of course, it was embellished in the Bible.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest turnoff for non-Christians, though, is the fact that when a Christian is asked a question like that, they don't have it in them to just say, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They always have to come up with some sort of answer, whether it's BS or not.
Right.
I didn't think about that aspect.
Yeah.
Probably not even just Christians. Probably most people probably have the proclivity to. You ask them a profound question, they want to answer. I do. When someone asks me a profound question, more than often than not, I could have no idea at all.
Yeah.
More often than not, I'll sit there and start trying to come up with something, as opposed to just being like, I have no idea. So I guess that's just a human fallacy.
Yeah, well, and like him, I've asked the question, how will I know when I found my purpose? And the answer I never got was, find the one activity you can't live without and do it. Commit yourself to it.
Wow.
It was always, it'll just come to you, or it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't going to happen for me sitting on my fucking couch, that's for sure.
Now you're sitting on another couch, but it's got a microphone.
Oh, it does now.
To an extent, though, new opportunities will come to you, and you can follow those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be in the vein of where you've chosen to put yourself and what you're pursuing.
Right.
Yeah. I think part of the problem with putting the weight on putting all of the weight on God is it's like it's hard to define exactly what that means, God calling you to do something.
Yeah. Exactly.
So to someone who's very emotional and empathetic, I mean, we've all seen, you guys all know the girls in high school and college who are like, start dating someone because God's calling them to. Or like, I'm going to marry this person because I feel like God's telling me to. And I'm like, and you're like, really, this guy?
Yeah.
Or vice versa. You're like, you should not be getting married right now.
It's like he's banging 3 other chicks right now.
Yeah, he's banging 3 other chicks. Like, I guess God just wants him to spread his seed or something. but No, but my point is you see the people who like they start because if someone's very manic like in their behavior and their choices and stuff, and every time they get a strong feeling about something they decide it's God, that can go really bad. That can go south really bad, and also it can damage your spiritual relationship, right?
Yeah,
because you're like, God keeps calling me to do these things and then nothing happens, like, or I end up pregnant and fatherless, you know. But like, I don't know why I'm laughing about that, but I just mean like...
Wait, pregnant and fatherless?
Yeah, like you've never got...
So you got pregnant and then your dad
You never got pregnant and your dad died in the same week?
That's what I'm saying, man.
That's the type of effed up
situations you end up in. No, okay.
Can I finish what I was going to say real quick?
Yes.
I fumbled my words a little bit, but what I was trying to say is you see those people who just go on their emotion and then they go, well, that's God. Then you have people who are not as emotional like me, and it's like, you know, when's this bus leaving, God? Like, I'm not getting a call. Like, what's happening? I thought I was supposed to know. And it's because you think something specific's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's the reason why putting all the weight on God is not a great idea.
Right.
Because you're just like, you don't know what that means for God to call on you. And then
Right.
you're waiting. And maybe, let's say that God is calling you to do something. Like there is a cosmic scheme and God is calling you to do something. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, you don't get it or you don't buy into it or you don't know because you're like waiting for like, that can't be it. That's not it. Like, when's the real sign? It's got to be a big thing. I should know, right?
Yeah.
Well, then wouldn't you end up in that calling? Here's a question, whether you're looking for it or not. So if you're sitting on your ass and you're looking for this sign or this calling, is it more likely to come to you when you're sitting on your ass at home or when you're out pursuing doing anything?
Right.
You know, if that change of direction is supposed to come, it would come either way. Whether or not you're sitting around, you know, looking at everything as a sign from God or...
Right, you're right. Well, so it's kind of like both of it. It's kind of like you don't necessarily have to go, there's no meaning in the universe. Although I do like the make your own meaning thing. You know?
Yeah, that's honestly...
Make your own purpose.
That's been... that's what has helped me the most. Because I can't sit there and just wait for something to happen.
Right. Well, you're 26 now, right?
Yeah, I'm 26.
And I'm about to turn 25.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking a lot about it, too. It's like you kind of have to do things. That's part of why I think we've made this initiation. Probably the three of us
have all been
like, you know, we were all like, I'm about to be 25. Evan's 25. You're 26. We're getting to that age where it's like, you know, how long you can't sit around stagnant forever. Like eventually you have to go like, I'm going to fucking do what I want to do. I got to make it happen. And you order a bunch of cameras off of Amazon.
Hell yeah.
And you have your brother set up a rig in the kitchen, and you start recording weird podcasts about the meaning of life.
Dude, fuck yeah, man. This is fucking awesome.
Well, you know, I got into ministry when I was about 18. And I thought that's what I was supposed to do. You know, I did that for 5 years.
Well, that's good.
For the listeners that don't know, I became an ordained minister at 19. Which is already pretty insane for somebody. You know, I didn't go through seminary. I just simply kept pursuing these positions at churches. And my issue was I could not completely give in to their philosophies just because on just a fundamental level I disagreed with several things. You know, I wasn't the guy that could go straight edge or not drink or not smoke and show up at the church at, 8 in the morning. There were so many requirements, and as I got older, when I was about 23 is when I decided to quit, and I actually just started looking into life coaching instead because of the parallels. But I reached this point where I was just like, I am so far from being a pastor. Like, I'm so much closer to, a gutter punk than the guy in the suit that's going to lead the people of God. That's just who I am. And it finally got to a point where it was like, okay, I thought this was my calling. And I had to actually transition slowly out of that pursuit because people were going insane when I told them I was done with it. because they thought I'd given up on God basically, and I was like, no.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, right? Because that area is not too far off from kind of your pursuit right now. And you probably learned a lot of skills and probably figured out what you really wanted to do from doing some of that stuff, I imagine.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I went to a very low place towards the end of that pursuit, which I don't know, maybe I'll get into that in another show sometime. But I reached a point. I just reached a breaking point. I was like, I have to figure out what I want to do. And instead of having a religious experience, I found Tony Robbins. Like, I could do this. And I don't have to have people as much looking into my personal life all the time, which was a big thing for me with ministry. Was every aspect of your personal life is looked over by everybody in your congregation, or the parents of the kids in your congregation, or whatever area of ministry you're in. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't have this kind of pressure. Mm-hmm. I can't worry about a picture of me holding a beer surfacing on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Or, if I watched a TV show on HBO that had a nipple in it.
Yeah. That you felt like you really weren't being true to yourself.
Yeah, I wasn't being true to myself, and I wasn't being true to really the ideals of the people I wanted to serve.
Right. Yeah, there's a double thing. There's kind of a... maybe this will get off into a different subject almost, but I never got in church whenever people in church tell you, like, don't be too... they kind of, in church, a lot of times in youth group, they always bring up the thing of, like, how were you acting Saturday night before you came in Sunday morning? What were you doing last night? Yeah. And they all talk about this, like, you do your own shit on your own time, and then you come in Sunday morning in your sundress, And it's like... Or like, oh, you shouldn't be two-faced or whatever. It's like, yeah, well, anytime I try to be myself in church, I get reprimanded. So what do you want me to do? Like, I can't cuss or anything. I can't make any, like, crude humor. Right. I can't question God. So, like, what do you want me to, like, what am I here for? Like, I always thought that was a little bit of a thing. Like, I'm not saying necessarily that it should be a shit show and, like, kids should be, like, snorting coke and shit at church. But I just mean, like, there should be some honesty about that and, like, some openness about it. Like, Absolutely. Maybe I drink. I don't have any issue with that. If you want to talk to me about that or why you think it's wrong, or if you want to tell me, like, well, maybe you shouldn't be part of this congregation because we don't believe in that, that's fine. But don't do the thing where it's like, because otherwise you're asking someone to, like, conform to your system to be in church. It's like you should never have someone not be true to themselves.
Right.
And also, I know that makes it sound like me saying being true to myself is being an alcoholic or something.
No.
I got more people to go to church by not talking about church.
What?
Usually
How
do.
so?
Because, well, a lot of people that know me personally, especially know me in church, know I'm very different about the way I approach things. Mm-hmm. And I got to a point where it was known kind of what my background was, and I didn't talk about it, just kind of behaved differently. And it got to the point where more people were like, hey, like, what is so different about, your way of thinking that keeps you from freaking out in these situations or just giving up? And then I'd tell them, they end up, these people want to go and check it out and be a part of it. As opposed to, which I know this is off subject, but there's a lot of situations.
That's what the podcast is all about, baby.
Where you have the person that goes around and they keep going, well, you just need to come to church with me. That wouldn't have happened.
Oh,
it's like God's punishing you. It's like,
yes.
I had a conversation with an individual who just kept telling me that he kept trying to get me to read the Bible. Brixby just started listening to me, or Google.
Anyway.
Disturbing.
Google's curious about Jesus.
I guess so. You need to read the Bible. I was just like, he was telling me I needed to read the Bible. I don't understand. What is this Bible? If I could bring Siri to God, I would be like the goat of Christianity.
You said the goat?
Yeah. I don't mean like the devil. I mean like
The what?
The goat.
Okay, just for a second, do you know how terrifying that would be to have an AI that like controls everything that believes in Christianity?
That would be.
That'd be the Spanish Inquisition on steroids.
That's actually a good idea for like an indie film or something. Like an AI, a church, an AI they do like the Turing test, and it ends up being like they're like, okay, this thing's technically conscious, and they get saved. It's ridiculous.
This sounds like a Pureflix movie. We need to pitch this.
Yeah, it kind of does. But the idea, but I was kind of going more sci-fi horror with it.
Yeah,
where it becomes it starts killing people. It becomes like a theocracy.
Yeah,
starts like killing people who don't believe. But then the scriptures are all so like incoherent to an extent that it doesn't even know. So it just starts killing everyone because it doesn't fucking know what it believes anymore. I don't know what I believe anymore.
What were you saying? Your friend?
Sorry, my friend, because you were talking about. What were we just talking about right before that?
People were like, "You need to come to church with me."
Yeah, and that wouldn't have happened. Yeah.
Well,
I had a friend who like would just kept trying to get me to read the Bible. He was doing it subtly, and he was doing it like kind and good intentions. He wasn't being an asshole about it at all. But he was just like, it's so funny because the way I approach things, like he would be like, you need to read. He's like, you should try doing read the Bible in a year. Like he kept mentioning it to me and stuff, and I was like, well, because I kept talking about other books I was reading. And I was like, well, I'm kind of interested more in like genetics right now, so I'm reading. Like I'm like trust me, like the Bible's interesting. There's a lot you can get out of it.
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm I might dive into it at some point, but and every once in a while I'll dive pretty deep into theology and like study some of the stuff. Right. But I was like, I'm not really as interested in theology right now. I'm kind of studying different areas. But it's really hard to talk to a Christian because he couldn't see past his own worldview. So when he was talking to me, he didn't understand that for me, I was like, yes, that's an area of study, but I'm also interested in these other areas of study. To him, it's like that is everything, is reading Scripture. So he like, it almost didn't register with him. And, because he was like talking about relationship with God and stuff from reading the Scripture. And I was like, most of the time I read it, it's really like, I mean, it kind of gets into those subjects in a way, but just not the same way.
Yeah, philosophical.
But anyway, but there was a little bit of that, like, maybe you should be reading the Bible, because I would talk about depression and stuff. And that's horrible, I think, to tell people, like, if you're not praying enough or you're not going to church, then you wouldn't be depressed. It's like, that's when these kids will kill themselves, because they're like, well, shit, I feel like I'm doing everything I can, and God's turned his head, so I guess this is sayonara.
Right, and that's that was the other thing.
Is that what you felt like?
Yeah, like I was very depressed and I did want to kill myself. And so that led into my trying to figure out the meaning of life. And that's when I was like, yeah, you just got to create your own meaning. But I was trying to say before, like when I tried to figure out the meaning of life, I was talking about how I went back to Genesis and stuff like that. And I was talking about the commands that God gave, which was be fruitful and multiply, and I said dominate the earth earlier, or have dominion over the earth.
Well, the Bible does say that man has dominion over the earth.
Right. And then I thought there was like one more. I think there was something that people have said which is to have a relationship. And I was like, well, that's not really a purpose. That's just something that's like already given to us inherently. So I don't think that I would call that a purpose. And I said, I was also saying the same things, that be fruitful and multiply and have dominion over the earth aren't purposes either, because they've already been given to us. Having dominion obviously can be a little bit more, or dominating, because we're talking about, presidents and kings and stuff like that. And obviously they hold a lot of control, and it's pretty.
It's also what is used to completely disregard the environment. So.
What?
We have dominion over the earth, so I guess we can just fuck it up as much as we want.
Yeah. Is that like a global warming argument or something?
Well, no, it's just, I've noticed that a lot with conservatives is, Well, we have dominion over the earth.
They say that a lot when it comes
Yeah.
to like
It's like, well,
slaughterhouses and stuff,
it's
or
like,
like
that dam,
factory farming.
yeah, it's like that dam you just built is going to dry up the whole river. Well, we have dominion over the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means you're going to be held fucking responsible.
Yeah, absolutely.
When,
Right.
you know,
That's
like,
true,
Like God
yeah.
shows up one day, like, what'd you do?
It's like, I told you to fucking take care of this.
Yeah.
You had one job.
Exactly. But I feel like that's not really a purpose, since everybody's supposed to have a job.
So let's kind of dive into this, because you're kind of saying like you don't think God gives people a purpose. He makes us and we make our own purpose. Is that what you think? Like he's created us so that we can be basically.
I can't I believe that God creates us in the same way that he created Adam and Eve, right? As far as our job, our career, and stuff like that goes, that's up to us. I'm sure that God can help us out, and I'm sure that God can speak to us and be like, hey, I want you to go to Africa.
Yeah. Why is that funny?
I was going to make a joke, feed all those black kids. But anyway, you know, something like that. But... But you know,
so then, so you said like Adam and Eve. Is that because what you're saying is Adam and Eve? There is no careers or anything like that.
No, well,
so is that what you mean? We're made kind of like Adam and Eve. It's like, their purpose was very vague and simple.
Yeah. Exactly. I also look at it before like the time period before they ate from the tree. So I have like a little bit more, I have less to work with basically, but you know, because the other thing is that I have this theological argument that says, because we have sin in the world, we have a lot more to do. So, and we get the pleasure of overcoming evil or whatever.
So sin saved humanity?
No, I didn't say that it saved humanity at all.
Can you imagine how boring it would be if we were just sitting naked in a field somewhere?
It would be boring. The other thing to really look at is the sexual attraction too.
Well,
what about it?
Actually, this isn't specified in the Bible, but you might be able to just bang as much as you want, just whoever, because it just wouldn't matter.
Because they didn't screw until after the fall.
Well, they don't. It doesn't say that.
Okay. Well. Okay, yeah, to be fair,
I didn't think about
correct.
that. Is that the assumption?
That's the assumption that is made.
I assumed they were boning and moaning, dude.
I doubt it.
It was probably just a crazy sex fest.
Beforehand?
Yeah.
Well, they were made a human they ate, so why wouldn't they also need to bang? God just turned that biology off, but he had the other ones going?
No.
It's not like it's a choice.
I
mean, it is a choice. It's a choice to have sex with people the same way and to masturbate. It's the same way it's a choice to eat. So it's sort of a choice, but it's also sort of like you kind of need to do this thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Just because they didn't know they were naked doesn't mean they didn't want to bang.
That's a really good thing.
Oh,
really
it was
study.
what you were saying was because they were made naked, they weren't sexually attracted to each other?
No, that's not what I was saying. I was implying that so
okay, you know what I mean? Because you said sexual attraction, then I started thinking like, well,
so when because there was something that happened, you know, like after they ate the tree, they were like saw
I don't
themselves
believe Adam and Eve actually existed, so
right, but what I'm implying is according to the theology,
sure,
you know, the first book in Genesis, I like to look at before the fall. But what I'm saying is, since they were naked, there was something that happened after they ate from the tree, and they said they saw themselves and that they were naked and they felt ashamed. Yes, and so I don't know how attraction was beforehand, before they felt ashamed.
It's probably purely emotional.
I feel like that's all inserts.
If you're going to get into the theology or the philosophy of that, it would be purely emotional.
Purely emotional.
Yeah.
So you're implying that there
How
was
did we
not.
get to this conversation?
I don't know. I don't know why we're talking.
Okay, no. Well, I would get. If you don't mind, me getting back to the purpose thing a little bit. We got to because we were talking. You were saying that Adam and Eve. You kind of look at it in a very simple way. Like we have a certain purpose, but the purpose is sort of us to find our own meaning.
Well,
or do you think there's none?
So what I was implying is that whenever I search for purpose, I would always go back to Genesis because that's when and it was always before the fall, before the time of the fall. Because they're I wouldn't say that they had a purpose. I would say that they created and they had commands or whatever. And they were still able to just kind of do whatever, knowing that they, be fruitful, multiply, dominate the earth, and pretty much it. So I don't look at those as that was, that's your purpose, because it was just something that I felt was kind of inherently given to us.
Oh, I see.
Right. And so after I had looked at all that and I couldn't really find anything, I was still asking. And so since I did not get a straight answer from any pastor, and it was always, to give glory to God, but no one ever would really explain to me what the hell that meant at all. Or to build relationships or whatever.
Well, another question is, if you got a straight answer and it was really specific, would you be satisfied with that answer?
That is a good question.
That's why, it would have to be vague. It would have to be either a vague answer that everybody can accept, or it would have to be different for everybody.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it is better to be different for everybody, but I don't know.
Well, there's also like a distinction between purpose and the difference between us having a purpose and why God made us. Because, and what I mean by that is there could be totally different. Those two things can be different in the sense that, because God could have made us without purpose. That doesn't answer why He made us. It just means we don't have purpose. But I look at it back. This is my thoughts on it right now. Mm-hmm. Do we have purpose? No.
Yeah.
Evan, what was your... No, I'm just kidding. No, I think... I can think it back. And Evan, I think you were at this event. We in our youth group, we had an event where it was at a Newsboys concert. We were volunteering and talking to people. I don't know why I dropped the name, but we were at a Newsboys concert, and there was a girl in our youth group that came, and she was like an atheist or something. I don't know. She wasn't really Christian or whatever. Yeah. And she kept arguing with people about God or something. And all these Christian kids are going up and talking to her, like, kind of annoyingly, if I might add, like, well, why don't you pray with me and all this stuff? And she was kind of annoying. She's like, look, and I overheard her at one point. There's a whole longer story to it. Mm-hmm. But I overheard her at one point. She goes, I just don't get it. Like, if God created us, then it's basically just a game. And I didn't really have a counter argument. I wasn't trying to argue with her, to be honest. But I was like, but I also was like, my first reaction was like, of course that's something that people would say. To this day, I don't really have a counter argument to that. Yeah. Like, if God made us, it's really for like the fuck of it. It's really like a game. Like, there's none of the other explanations make any sense. Now, I don't actually believe like physical God physically made us, so I don't necessarily have to think about too hard about that.
Right.
But that's a big issue. Like, if you're like, well, God made it to worship Him. Mm-hmm. So does that mean God has an ego and He needs to be worshipped, and that He has human element? People always put human stuff on God. It's like, why would He need to be worshipped? He doesn't need it.
Yeah.
If He has a need, like, that doesn't make sense. Like, right. Like, there's no reason for that. But anyway, I'm probably pretty naive on those topics theologically. But what I'll say is, my only thing is, I don't know that we have purpose.
Right.
But I know that we can do good.
Yes,
and bad.
Absolutely. Right.
So that's kind of the only thing I think about a lot, because I can look at it in two different ways, and I'm constantly I might have a totally different opinion in a couple months, because this is something I think about a lot and change my opinion on. But I always think I tend towards nihilism a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I always think, though, even in the most nihilistic perspective and point of view, even which would be that I live this little like, you know, dust in the wind life, and then die, and then nothing matters because it's all black after that. It's like, even that little dust in the wind, it's like, well, I can make that dust in the wind part better for other people who have to be the dust in the wind next.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's me still being positive in the most nihilistic outlook.
Yes.
So I don't know that I can think like, well, everyone has a purpose. I think you can do your best to make things better for you. I mean, this is like almost Jordan Peterson-esque, but
Yeah.
I like his kind of approach, which is sort of like a ripple thing, where it's like you make your life better, and then you're making your friends and family's life better, and then through that ripple effect, you make the world better, just by making yourself better. So I like the idea there of just showing, like, if I can be the best person I can be and do the most, like, do good, then I don't really need a purpose because that's a good thing that I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
But maybe your purpose is however you fulfill that. I don't know. But so you are kind of making your own purpose.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make people laugh.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't think anyone called me to that, or that was like a divine thing. I think that that's just something where I'm like, I think I could do this, and I think it would be beneficial to other people. So I did kind of make my own purpose in that sense.
Yeah.
This is what because I've said it like different times, like, this is what I think I should be doing. This is what I feel like I need to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the same way that someone who's called by God to do ministry is like, I feel called to Africa. It's the same thing almost, right?
Absolutely.
But I've made my own purpose.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. No. I will say that's probably one of the because I at least had to find a good reason as to, you know, not kill myself or anything like that. And so I will say that's probably one of the best reasons that I had, was that I can make other people's lives better. And I do impact other people's lives, though I may not know it.
Yeah, like you definitely negatively impacted mine.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Did you hear me, or are you just being sarcastic?
No, I'm being.
I said negatively.
Oh.
I was making a joke, and then I was like, man, Ty's really on it tonight because you had such a sincere thank you that I felt bad. No. But no, I think you have positively affected my life.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. So I know. Yeah, people.
Just kiss already.
I know people have.
I don't think the podcast is ready for interracial kissing.
Come to me and you know, said something, or you know, people have
makes it all worthwhile. Huh?
Yeah, it does. It does make it all worthwhile. But it just makes not trying to. I guess it puts value. You realize how much more people value you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah. So, you have any closing thoughts?
I would say to the question...
Yeah, we didn't ask Evan exactly what he thought God gives him. Do you think God gives you purpose? Do you think you create your own?
I would say that I'm undecided on a couple of grounds. Okay. For one reason, I would say it doesn't matter. Because if you're doing what you feel you're supposed to be doing and pursuing a certain direction, whether God decided you're going to do something or not, you're going to end up going down the most fulfilling path you can.
Yeah.
And the reason I would say I don't really know is because there are too many people born with natural talent and predisposed towards certain things. And to me, that's, to me, a lot of times that almost feels pre-designed when I look at certain people and just go, they were born to do this.
Michael Jordan playing basketball.
Oh, yeah.
That, there's a lot of musicians that, just from a young age are just complete experts at what they do.
Cody Lee. America's Got Talent's recent winner.
I could also mention a certain friend of mine from college that can play anything and just knew how to do it.
See, that's some talent right there, yeah.
That's awesome. Like play by ear and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard. When you see someone who's like just naturally inclined musically, it's hard to say that's not what they're supposed to be doing.
He started with the drum set. The only thing he couldn't play was guitar until he was about 25, and now he plays guitar.
Wasn't that like 2 months ago?
It was about probably a year or two ago I finally learned how to play guitar.
Yeah. There was like a whole, one of those spread message things, like text message forwarding things, where it was like, he learned to do it finally. Because he'd been playing guitar for 10 years. But all he would do was tune all the strings specifically where he needed them, so he didn't have to learn. It's pretty fun.
That in and of itself is ingenious.
Yeah, it was really cool.
But no. I guess my point is, I feel like there are too many people that intuitively know a certain subject to definitively say that nobody's born with some sort of calling or purpose.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
Well, I like the idea there too of you saying it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because when someone knows what they want to do or finds what they want to do or knows what they're good at, and that ends up being a beneficial thing to themselves and other people,
right.
if they pursue that, whether they believe it's a purpose or not, maybe it is God's purpose or maybe it isn't, it doesn't really matter because you're still doing it because you still kind of know.
Yeah.
That is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, and, if God has called you to do it, He will meet you in the middle.
Yeah.
He's not going to fling you off your couch into a stadium of 100,000 people and turn you into a rock star overnight. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, either way, it's not going to happen with you sitting around thinking about it.
Right. That was one of the things that Pastor Craig talked about. Came up with this little slogan or whatever. It was "Do your best, and God will bless the rest." And so
Rhymes.
Yeah, it does.
I wasn't being a dick. I just thought it was pretty clever.
Yeah, it was. It was very helpful, at least for a while. I mean, it still is. But yeah. All I mean is that it doesn't. I'm not writing on that slogan as much as I was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Well.
Closing
statements we were about to do. I asked them for his opinion, but yeah. You want me to?
Yeah. I mean, do you have any closing statements?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I think that, it looks like the three of us all have kind of different perspectives and different approaches, which is interesting, but we all kind of come to the same point, which is you kind of take a mixture of what you know you're good at and what you want to do, and then add in the fact of are you benefiting people while doing it. You mix those three things together, whether it's your subconscious or God or whatever, you probably need to make a move. I think the main point is that you have to make a move at some point.
Yeah, that is basically.
You shouldn't wait around forever waiting for whatever to tell you what to do. It's like start taking steps in a direction at least.
Yes,
because then you're walking in a certain direction. Maybe that's not the path. Maybe you start doing ministry or whatever. But while you're doing that, you're learning these skills and stuff for what you really are meant to do. So part of it's just get up and do it.
Don't wait for the alphabet soup to spell it out.
That's pretty profound.
Yeah. Get up, make a move, do something.
But that's what I gotta say.
Yeah, that's it. I'm theJames.
Sums it up.
I'm Evan.
I'm Matt.
And this is Three's a Podcast.